John Milton's poem, on his having arrived at the age of 23, is a reflective sonnet in which the poet contemplates the passage of time and his sense of personal development as he reaches the age of 23. Written in the early 1630s, this sonnet captures Milton's concerns about his place in life and his aspirations, especially as a poet. The sonnet begins with Milton expressing a sense of frustration or disappointment. He feels that time has flown by quickly, yet he has little to show for it in terms of significant achievements. In particular, Milton is concerned that his physical appearance and youthful vigor do not reflect the inner maturity and accomplishments he had hoped to possess by this age. He uses the metaphor of stolen on his wing to describe how time has passed swiftly, almost without him noticing. Despite this anxiety, Milton consoles himself with the belief that God has a greater plan for him. He expresses trust in divine providence, suggesting that God has his own timeline for Milton's talents and purpose to unfold. He reflects that while others may have achieved more tangible success at a younger age, he believes his potential and destiny are tied to God's will. Therefore, he need not rush or worry about how quickly his life is progressing. In the final lines, Milton affirms his patience and dedication. He hopes to be a useful instrument for God, and he prays that his time on earth will be spent in fruitful service to a higher cause. This acceptance of divine timing marks a key theme in the poem. While Milton may not yet feel accomplished, he trusts that his future contributions, particularly as a poet and intellectual, will align with God's greater plan for his life. Structure and themes, time and youth. The primary theme of the poem is the relationship between time and personal development. Milton worries that his youth is slipping away without the kind of accomplishments he had expected to achieve by this stage. Divine providence. Milton's faith in God is the poem's underlying resolution to his anxiety. He believes that his talents and purpose will manifest at the right time, according to divine will, rather than according to the pressures of earthly time. Maturity and accomplishment. Milton compares his external appearance, which may still seem youthful, with the internal maturity he desires. He longs for his accomplishments to catch up with his age, but recognizes that such growth is dependent on more than just earthly factors. Patience and trust. The poem concludes with a message of patience and trust in God. Milton resolves to wait until the right time for his true abilities and contributions to flourish. Milton's reflection in this sonnet captures the universal tension between ambition and the natural passage of time, while also showing his deep religious faith as a guiding force in his life. Here is a line-by-line explanation of John Milton's "On his having arrived at the age of 23, the poem. How soon hath time, the subtle thief of youth." In this opening line, Milton personifies time as a thief who subtly steals away youth. The poet laments how quickly time has passed and how it has taken away the years of his youth without him fully realizing it. "Stolen on his wing my 23rd year." Here, Milton continues the metaphor, describing time as having stolen his 23rd year. The use of wing suggests the speed with which time flies, emphasizing how rapidly his youth seems to have disappeared. "My hasting days fly on with full career." Milton describes his days as hasting or hurrying and flying forward with full career. This implies that time moves forward at full speed, rushing him through life. "But my late spring no bud or blossom shewth." He compares his current stage in life to a late spring that has not yet produced any visible results. No bud or blossom. This suggests that, despite reaching the age of 23, Milton feels that he has not yet achieved the growth or success he had hoped for by this age. "Perhaps my semblance might deceive the truth." Milton acknowledges that his appearance, semblance, might be misleading. Even though he may look young or vigorous, it does not necessarily reflect his true inner maturity or accomplishments. "That I to manhood am arrived so near." Here, he notes that despite his youthful appearance, he is nearing manhood. This implies that he is at the threshold of adulthood, but he feels unprepared or underdeveloped in comparison to what he expected at this point in life. "And inward ripeness doth much less appear." Milton laments that while he has reached physical maturity, his inward ripeness, or intellectual and emotional maturity, seems lacking. He feels that his inner development has not kept pace with his physical age, that some more timely happy spirits endureth. He contrasts himself with others, whom he refers to as timely happy spirits. These are people who have been endowed with maturity and success at an earlier stage in life. Milton feels that they have reached their potential more quickly than he has, yet be it less or more, or soon or slow. Here, Milton begins to shift his perspective. He accepts that whether his accomplishments come less or more, whether they are significant or modest, or whether they come soon or slow, whether they arrive quickly or late, this is beyond his control. It shall be still in strictest measure. Even he expresses his faith in God's plan, saying that everything will happen in the strictest measure. This means that everything will unfold exactly as it is supposed to, according to divine order, whether it comes sooner or later. To that same lot, however mean or high, Milton recognizes that his lot in life, whether it turns out to be mean, humble, or high, significant, is also determined by a higher power, toward which time leads me, and the will of heaven. He states that it is both time and the will of heaven that will guide him to his destiny. This shows his belief that his life is unfolding according to God's plan, and that time will lead him to fulfill his purpose. All is, if I have grace to use it so. In this line, Milton reflects on the importance of grace, acknowledging that everything depends on whether he has the grace to make the best use of his time and opportunities. As ever, in my great taskmaster's eye. The poem concludes with Milton referring to God as his great taskmaster, emphasizing his belief that he is always working under God's watchful eye. This closing line reflects Milton's sense of accountability to God and his desire to fulfill the purpose that God has set for him. Overall explanation. In this poem, Milton is reflecting on the swift passage of time and his sense of frustration over not having achieved what he hoped to by the age of 23. He compares his life to a late spring that has not yet bloomed, indicating that he feels behind in his personal and intellectual growth. However, Milton consoles himself by expressing trust in divine providence, believing that his talents and purpose will unfold according to God's plan. He accepts that whether his accomplishments come sooner or later, they will be guided by God's will. The poem ultimately conveys a message of patience, faith, and trust in a higher power.